The northern seas whisper of men who sailed beyond the edge of the world. They came from lands of fjords and forests, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, where the cold wind forged hard spirits and fearless hearts. Between the 8th and 11th centuries, these men and women, the Vikings, rose from isolation to change the face of Europe. Their world was one of longships and legends, where the horizon was never a limit but a challenge. In villages along the rugged coasts, blacksmiths shaped iron into axes, and shipwrights built sleek vessels that could ride the waves like serpents. Each voyage began with a prayer to Odin for wisdom, to Thor for strength, and to Njord for calm seas. When they launched their ships, the North Sea roared like a god awakened. The first raids were swift and brutal. Monasteries on the coasts of Britain and Ireland became the earliest victims. But behind those raids was more than greed. It was hunger, ambition, and destiny. In Scandinavia, the soil was thin and winters were long. To survive, the Vikings sought new lands and new wealth. Their longships, shallow and swift, could glide over open seas or slip silently into rivers, striking deep into the heart of kingdoms unprepared. To the frightened monks of Lindisfarne in 793 AD, the Northmen seemed like demons. But the Viking Age was not born of savagery alone. It was the spark of exploration and enterprise. Where they plundered one day, they traded the next, their ships carrying not just swords, but silver, furs, amber, and slaves. Across the rivers of Eastern Europe, Viking traders known as Varangians founded routes that connected Scandinavia to Byzantium. In the east, they built cities like Novgorod and Kiev, laying the foundations of what would become Russia. In the west, they raided England, France, and Ireland. But they also settled there, marrying locals and reshaping the lands they once pillaged. Dublin, York, and Normandy, names forever tied to their northern makers. The Vikings did not merely destroy, they absorbed, adapted, and transformed. Their gods spoke of fate, the Norns who wove destiny, and Ragnarok, the twilight of the world. Yet their deeds carved history that would outlast myth. Under leaders like Ragnar Lothbrok, Ivar the Boneless, and Bjorn Ironside, their exploits became legend, half truth, half song. But among all their conquests, none changed Europe more than the rise of one man, Rollo the Viking, who became Duke of Normandy. From his line would come William the Conqueror, who in 1066 carried Viking blood into the throne of England. The Norsemen's spirit of adventure was unmatched. They crossed the Atlantic long before Columbus. Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, sailed west to a place they called Vinland, believed to be part of North America. The Viking world stretched farther than any European power of its age. Yet even the fiercest warriors cannot outrun time. As Christianity spread through the north, the old gods fell silent. Kings like Harald Bluetooth and Olaf Tryggvason brought baptism to the once pagan lands. The axes were laid down and churches rose where once the old temples stood. The Viking Age faded not in defeat, but in transformation, from raiders to rulers, from pagans to kings. Their legacy lived on in language, law, and bloodlines that still shape Europe today. The English word law comes from the Norse lagu, sky, window, and knife, all gifts from the Northmen's tongue. Their influence reached the throne rooms of England, the courts of Byzantium, and the maps of the New World. What began with a raid on a lonely monastery ended with the birth of nations. And though centuries have passed, the echo of their oars still beats within the tides of history. For the Vikings were not merely warriors, they were founders of worlds. They shaped not just the lands they touched, but the spirit of the West itself, daring, restless, unafraid to sail into the unknown. And in that spirit, their story lives forever, a saga written in steel, salt, and flame.